It's time for Clemson Sports Talk with Lawton Swan.
Ready, set.
Just call me Swanny.
Tiger style. Tiger style.
Finally, Clemson Sports Talk has come back to drive time. Hello, everybody. Lawton Swan back in the saddle once again. It is the show that shakes the Southland. Clemson Sports Talk for you on a Tuesday afternoon for all of our Tiger fans around the state of South Carolina and the world on the iHeartRadio app. John Blau from the Post and Courier joins us every Tuesday out of the gates. Of course, Clemson 30, Florida State 20. It may not have been the way Tiger fans would have drawn it up. A late score off of a scoop and score by Barrett Carter gives the margin. Clemson leaves 9 points on the table with some missed field goals from BT Potter, but nonetheless, they survived the Seminoles on Saturday. And maybe more significantly was that final drive, that final scoring drive that Clemson put together, aided by several Florida State penalties, but nonetheless, a little confidence boost, if you will, for this Clemson Tiger offense, you think?
Yeah, no, that was a question asked after the game, and I think that's Tony Elliott's hoping that DJ Uyunglele, Will Shipley, I think they all agreed that that's maybe something they can build off of, because before that drive, I mean, I think they had a couple missed field goals, an interception, a fumble. I mean, just a bunch of stuff had happened, just a bunch of really bad drives in a row. I think Tony Elliott put it, they were farting around there in that third quarter. And then they just, rise like the Phoenix there on that last drive, just when you think they're not going to do it, and they do. And just a ton of heart in particular from Will Shipley, that 21-yard run to cap it off there. I mean, he was talking about just in the week in practice, they have so few running backs. He's got a ton of wear and tear from that. He's still just coming back, just in his second week back from injury. He does what he does there on that run. And then, again, there were a couple penalties, but, DJ made a play running the ball to be able to get that hit out of bounds that moves them. Bo Collins beat a guy, to be able to get that pass interference call. So a bunch of stuff goes right. A lot of stuff goes wrong for Florida State, too. But, yeah, just, finally seeing a little production after a lot of not so great series. I think it was a big deal for the Tigers, definitely.
One of the things I want to ask you about is DJ and just kind of where you think he is mentally right now. It still wasn't a great performance for him, right? Like 19 of 31, 189 yards, a touchdown, a pick, and then the strip sack, which, I think it was Dabo Swanny that explained that really wasn't on DJ as much as a wide receiver who maybe ran a route that wasn't correct or something, and that kind of made DJ hold the ball and recoil it and ended up with the strip six. But, where do you think he is right now? Because, when we talk to him, I think people might say he's maybe aloof, might be the word. I've heard cavalier, way too laid back. I know he's a kid from California, but where do you think DJ is right now as it comes down to the 6 inches between his ears?
Yeah, I mean, that's an interesting question. I think when he's talking to us, he's just trying to be polite and say the right things. I mean, he doesn't really, he doesn't go over the top in what he's saying. He's just, like you say, maybe sounds a little laid back. A lot of yes, sir, and, I agree. And, kind of moves past the question pretty quickly, but can't exactly get between his ears. But, I mean, if I was to gauge the situation that he's in, this is the first time in his life he's struggled at all. I mean, if you think about going back to Don Bosco in high school, Trevor Lawrence didn't lose many games in high school, neither did DJ. I mean, he won national championships. He had a lot of great players around him. He comes to Clemson, you follow up Trevor Lawrence, one of the greatest quarterbacks in college football history and definitely Clemson history. It just doesn't go, exactly like you would like it to. And Dabo Swanny and Tony Elliott have explained this ad nauseum. It's not all on him. There's been some offensive line issues, which, I think it's translated to a little bit of happy feet from DJ sometimes. I don't know if he's always trusting his offensive line. The running backs are young. Will Shipley, Bill Maffa now, the main guys. Kobe Pace is coming back, but, they're not always hitting the hole, so you're not always on schedule offensively. Receivers are running the wrong routes. I think things have just been frustrating, I think, for everyone, and probably a lot more just for DJ. Even though he is such a laid-back guy, I can't imagine any human being, can be in that situation with all the eyes of the world on you as Clemson's quarterback, especially following Trevor Lawrence. Lose 3 games, which Clemson hasn't done in forever. And I think even the situation that was brought up today, was that, at Pittsburgh, I think some of the fans were chanting like DJ sucks. Dabo Swanny actually, talked to him after that and said, keep your head up, keep working, don't worry about it. But that is in his sphere. I mean, he's hearing things like that. I can't imagine it hasn't had any effect on him. So again, can't get completely between his ears. I don't know exactly how he's handling it at the end of the day, but it would be not hard to imagine that a lot of this is just a lot, and he's going through a lot. He's having to work through it. Dabo Swanny and Tony Elliott keep saying he's got a lot of character, and they believe he's going to be able to, keep working through it. But he is definitely working through things. And as far as the product on the field, it's up and down. I mean, there's great moments, there's flashy moments, perfect throws. There's moments where doesn't throw the ball away. Maybe doesn't secure the ball well enough, and just some things happen that are frustrating for fans to watch. So it's definitely a lot for people to be patient, because it's not always going well. But it's definitely a lot the kid's battling through. That's for sure.
Again, he's on Twitter at John_Blau, and he hangs out with us every Tuesday to give us some insight into his thoughts on the Clemson Tigers. He writes for the Charleston Post and Courier. So Will Shipley, again, you kind of brought him up earlier, 25 carries, 128 yards, 2 touchdowns. How valuable is that type of performance from the running backs, whether it's Shipley, Maffa, Pace? Man, if it was Darian Rencher, who cares? But how valuable is that type of performance, in your opinion, for DJ to feel like maybe he's kind of got a guy that you can lean on offensively?
Yeah, absolutely huge, because you talk about, again, some of these struggles that DJ's gone through. I mean, the first couple games, Georgia, you only get 2 yards rushing. So you can't do anything on the ground to take any pressure off of DJ there. Even Georgia Tech, where, again, a few weeks ago, we were talking about this, the fact that they're, have a 3-man front, they're basically dropping 8, and you can only average a little under, 4 yards per carry against that. That's not, taking any pressure off of DJ. But if you can run the ball with a Will Shipley, and again, it was huge because it's just him and Phil Maffa, because that running back room is really thinned down. To be able to get that changes the way defenses are going to play you. I mean, they can't just gear up to stop the pass anymore and try to take away DJ and make it harder on him and confuse him. They have to bring bodies into the box, and that simplifies things, in the RPO game, which they use, and then also, just in terms of just straight up on the pass, you get some more, one-on-one matchups, but just simplifies things. And the way Will Shipley played, I mean, Tony Elliott was talking about it. The running backs are seeing things better. These are things that in high school, zone run scheme's a zone run scheme, but there are some different nuances that they're kind of learning how to hit the holes at the right times, and where to look, and where their eyes got to be. And you can tell, I mean, just Will Shipley in particular, great ability to see the cutback lane. I mean, the way he played this last weekend, just sees the cutback lane, puts a foot in the ground, gets into the hole, getting 10, 15 yards, and he's not tripping over his own feet like he was the week before, a couple other games. He's starting to really, really see it, hit it, and complete the run like he did on that 21-yarder. I mean, that's just huge for DJ, the offense, for Clemson in general.
So, John, I know you're new to the beat, and that means that every player on the field you kind of have fresh eyes for, right? But defensively, who's been the player for you? Because there's a ton of talent all over that field. Who's been the player for you defensively that's really stood out this season? And I'll give one caveat just in case it was Brian Brzee before his injury. Somebody that's currently healthy and still able to maybe help this team moving forward.
I know it's a ton of guys who can't, so that's good that you outlined that. But yeah, I would say obviously James Skalski is the obvious answer. I would say the one I would rather say though is Xavier Thomas, just because of his story. The speed he brings off the edge, especially going back to last year, when he was really, really down on himself, he was weighing around 300 pounds, was not, close to as explosive as everybody thought he could be or should be, being this really highly rated guy when he came out, and that's how he produced as a freshman and sophomore. He's back to that. And that just changes everything in terms of just, pass rush and completing your defense in terms of being able to get that pass rush without having to bring linebackers, without having to bring extra people. I mean, he just has such a get off the line of scrimmage that's special. And again, a really, really deep defensive line. Defensive tackle, obviously, like you mentioned, took a hit with Brian Brzee. Tyler Davis is back, but having those edge rushers that they can rotate in and out. Miles Murphy really had a nice game this last weekend too. That really makes life difficult on offensive coordinators, and especially the offensive tackles that have to block these guys. And Xavier Thomas, I think, is the guy that I would point to. It just feels like he really brings, I guess, X factor. I guess it's a really obvious thing to say, but he brings that X factor to Clemson's defense. It kind of puts it over the top and makes it that much better.
On Twitter at John_Blau, John Blau from the Charleston Post and Courier, with us every Tuesday afternoon to talk about the Clemson Tigers and where he thinks they are headed as they face off with Louisville. It'll be a night game, a 7:30 start. Obviously, I think this year everybody in this league can sort of smell blood in the water when it comes down to facing the Clemson Tigers. Let me see if I can phrase this the right way for you, John. The difficulty in playing a night game on the road in a scenario like this, you think? I mean, how difficult is that in your mind, covering Indiana, covering Clemson, and covering teams that have to go on the road, but have to go on the road at night when you might be kind of presumed to be still wounded?
Right. Yeah. They talk about night games. You're sitting around and you have nothing to do, but you kind of just think about the game. And you kind of mentally exhausted by the time you get there. So keeping yourself occupied. There's a whole bunch of stuff that coaches will talk about, the nuances of this. But, the road in general just has been a really, really not kind place to Clemson thus far. I mean, when you look at, obviously, the neutral site game against Georgia, then NC State, I guess those are 2 3:30 games, NC State and Pittsburgh. But, obviously, we're not able to rise to the challenge in both of those games. And this is going to be a challenge. I mean, it's really interesting just thinking about Malik Cunningham, just that dual threat quarterback. They were able to handle Jordan Travis from Florida State this past weekend, which is encouraging going into facing Malik Cunningham, but he's a little bit better of a thrower. So there's going to be those two dimensions there. And then, DJ Uyunglele against his defense, Tony Elliott, one of the things he was saying is they play cover 3, but they have about 7, 8, 10 different variations of cover 3 that you see. It's not just 3 guys dropping and 4 underneath. I mean, they do a whole bunch of stuff with it to confuse you. So there's a lot of challenges that they're going to face at Louisville, and how they respond. Again, they're trying to run the table. They're trying to get something positive out of this season. It's not up to the standards that they expect. And whether they can win at Louisville is going to play huge into how the rest of the season goes.
The other thing that's wild, I think, for a lot of people is maybe even after the loss to Pitt, some Clemson faithful would say, well, there it goes. You can't get to the ACC championship. But still, when you look at the schedules remaining for NC State and Wake Forest, I mean, there's an off chance that Clemson could somehow climb back into that ACC championship game. And I know that never say never, and it certainly feels slim to none at this point. But that's very much still alive. So, there's still a lot to play for because something crazy could happen. And I don't think it's outside of the realm of possibility. But, I mean, that's also got to be in their minds too, right? There is no margin for error anymore.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's not impossible. And obviously, you control what you can control. And you beat Louisville, you beat Wake Forest. I know Wake Forest is undefeated, but it's not like they're not due to slip up at some point. I mean, everybody in the country has. It's not impossible, but, the other goal Tony Elliott brought up is 10-win season. They've had a streak of those double-digit win seasons. You lose one more game, that's out the window as well. So you definitely want to win every game you can, to control what you can control. Like you said, give yourself a chance maybe to still make that ACC title game. You're not going to the CFP regardless. That's out of the picture, it seems like. But you can still win that ACC. You can still kind of finish on a positive. And this is one of those big steps towards doing that. So it'll be interesting to see how they respond.
All right, John, a little bit of a hypothetical for you. If Wake Forest wins out and wins the Atlantic Coast Conference, they're 10th, first time ever ranked in the AP top 10. Would they make the college football playoff?
That's an interesting question because I don't think they are, but you could make an argument that maybe they should. I mean, honestly, that Clemson wins this conference and they seem to almost have an automatic bid. So why wouldn't Wake Forest? But I think the thing that, media members and people on the outside looking in are going to say, well, this is just the ACC this year. It's always been, not a great conference. Clemson just went down to their level. Wake Forest won a not great league. Since he's kind of that hot team that was already kind of in the, the New Year's Six type of bowl last year. And, they're taking that next step. They're undefeated. They're kind of already in that conversation. And you could have, I don't know, 2 Big Ten teams. You could have a whole mess of things happen. I just don't know for sure whether Wake Forest is in, but I do think they have a really good argument because, again, if Clemson is able to win this conference year in, year out, go undefeated in the ACC and go to the CFP, why can't Wake Forest? I mean, that's something that I could see Demon Deacon fans being a little upset if that did happen. But, yeah, my gut feeling, probably not. I mean, that's just kind of where I see it.
John Blau again with the Charleston Post and Courier. All right, John, final thing for you. Have the results on the field given you any indication or thoughts about whether or not, say, a guy like Justin Ross, who had a pretty big ball game against Florida State, but has not had a great season, might take the opportunity to, utilize that COVID-19 year and come back? Or, just some of these other players, do you get the vibe that anybody who maybe has an additional year that could leave might say, what, this is not how I want to go out?
Yeah, I mean, I haven't gotten any definitive information in terms of Justin Ross or any of those other guys, but I mean, you could definitely see it happening potentially just because Clemson has a chance to be a really, really good team next year. I know that everybody's really, really frustrated with what's going on right now, but if you look at the offensive line is the most important. I know quarterback gets all the attention, but really everything's built in the trenches. You can bring pretty much that entire offensive line back, considering what you have now, the whole thing, because Matt Bockhorst is out for the year. You bring back those receivers. You bring back DJ with another full offseason, having made all the mistakes he's made. You can learn from those. You've got the defense pretty much. James Skalski is definitely gone. Nolan Turner definitely gone. But, Andrew Booth Jr. will be another interesting guy, depending where his draft stock is. But he could be back. I mean, you could have pretty much this entire team back, maybe plus a transfer portal addition or 2 if Dabo is willing to go in that direction.
Hey, now
you have a chance to have I know, bold statement, I guess. But it has a chance to be a really, really, really good football team. Again, just going back to Will Shipley, you have Shipley, Maffa, and Kobe Pace, a year older, all the same backfield behind a decent offensive line. I mean, that's a really, really dangerous thing right there. DJ should have, all the one-on-ones in the world, just loft it up. But yeah, I haven't heard anything in particular about any of those individual players. Justin Ross obviously wants to be an NFL guy. He's got that neck issue, spinal issue. Does he want to get there as fast as possible and just do whatever he can at that next level, not take any, more risks at the college level? You never know. I don't know what the calculus is there. But yeah, I can see a lot of guys wanting to come back, wanting to finish on a better note, just because, again, Clemson doesn't expect to play this way. They have a standard that's much different. And if you can end back in the CFP your career at Clemson, you can feel a lot better about things rather than a season where you lost, 3 or 4 games and that's the way it went. So yeah, interesting. We'll see how that goes in the off season. For now, we just got to see how this season ends.
Again, he's on Twitter at John Jon_Blau BLAU. He covers your Clemson Tigers for the Charleston Post and Courier. John, man, looking forward to talking to you next Tuesday.
All right. Thanks, Lon.
Up against the break. Stay with us for more Clemson Sports Talk on Fox Sports Radio 1400.
It's your chance to win $1,000. Text the nationwide keyword GRAND to 200-200. You'll get a confirmation text and info. Standard data and message rates apply in the station-wide contest. That's GRAND to 200-200. Now, Columbia's most dependable traffic. Sponsored by Pope Davis Tire and Automotive. Home of the best tire prices in Columbia. Guaranteed. Fox Sports Radio 1400 traffic.
A look at traffic shows a wreck on Raven Road at Two Notch. Also a tie-up Clemson Road at Clemson Frontage Road. The 103.5 FM WVOC traffic tip line number is 343-1055.
This report is sponsored by Pizza Hut.
The original stuffed crust from Pizza Hut is so cheesy, eat it backwards. But what if we played this song backwards?
One topping, just $12.99.
No one out Pizza the Hut. Ask for a limited time offer. Not available in some locations. Exclusions apply. Extra charge for more toppings and extra cheese.
Lawton Swan here. And I know in sports we're always talking about the big guy. Well, let me tell you, when you're buying a car, you don't need that. What you need to do is head down to Orangeburg to my good friends at Ferry Chevrolet Cadillac. 4 generations of family-owned business right there at Ferry Chevrolet. No dock fees, no tricks, straightforward pricing in a low-pressure environment you'll love. Check them out online, ferrychevrolet.com, or call them 803-536-1600. It's Ferry Chevrolet Cadillac, just a short 30-minute drive off of exit 145A in Orangeburg.
The world is upside down and millions of Americans are out of work. Debt keeps rising, and yet taxes and interest rates are at historically low levels. What's going to happen next? Oh, I don't know. Space monkeys could arrive. Times like these, it is important to do your homework and be prepared, especially if you're near retirement. Hi, it's Glenn Beck. This is not the time to go it alone and hope for the best. I want you to call Pat Struby today and find out what he can do for you right now. Do what other families just like yours have done for over 20 years. Call the team at Preservation Specialist. Call 803-9-RETIRE and schedule a complimentary phone or video consultation. Pat Struby and his team at Preservation Specialist are local and independent. Their focus is you and your retirement. So call 803-9-RETIRE. Schedule a complimentary consultation and be prepared for your retirement years. 803-9-RETIRE.
Glenn Beck has been remunerated and is not a client. Investment advisory services offered through Kalos Capital Inc. Investing involves risk, including the potential loss of principal.
Hi, I'm Alicia Kaufman Quinton. My daddy, Billy Kaufman, opened Kaufman's Meat Plant at our present location in 1955. My family still works hard every day to ensure fresh quality cuts of beef, pork, and poultry. How about a tasty T-bone, ribeye, or New York strip steak? But to order at Kaufman's Meeting Place. Just look for the signs near the intersection of US 1 and I-20 in Lexington. Call us at 356-0076 to place your order. Kaufman's Meeting Place, when you want the very best your money can buy.
Roxanne Watson is on a mission.
Hello, how are you doing today?
She wants more people to register as organ, eye, and tissue donors.
Are you an organ donor?
Yes, I am.
Yay. My goal is to sign up the most people in the United States.
What drives her? Roxanne's own life was saved through the gift of a heart transplant, made possible by an organ donor.
I decided that day that I was going to devote myself to the cause of organ donation and signing people up and honoring my donor by doing that.
Now she's back to health, and she's a powerful force helping to save lives every day through her work. Imagine what you can make possible by leaving behind the gift of life.
8 people can be helped with the major organs, and up to 50 people can be helped with a little bit of everything. And when you think about it that way, that you could help that many people, it's amazing. It really is.
Learn more and sign up as an organ, eye, and tissue donor. Go to organdonor.gov. A message from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Health Resources and Services Administration.
Welcome back to Clemson Sports Talk. Join the show in the chat room at clemsonsportstalk.com.
Rolling along on a Tuesday afternoon, Lawton Swan with you. Some sad news to report out of the NFL as Los Angeles Raiders wide receiver Henry Ruggs will be charged with DUI, resulting in death from a early morning fiery car crash that took place out in Las Vegas. Now, Ruggs, ironically, was in a tribute video that ESPN put together during game day a couple of years ago about a former high school teammate who died in a car accident. Now, Ruggs apparently under the influence. The incident that happened with his friend from high school, Rod Scott, was just a car accident that Ruggs was supposed to go on to a state basketball tournament that he did not go. But Ruggs, incredibly, always pointed three fingers to the sky in honor of Scott's memory. And now Ruggs faces 2 to 20 years potentially in prison due to this DUI event that took place late last night / early this morning. Police responded to an accident involving a Chevrolet Corvette in a Toyota RAV4. The RAV4 was on fire. The driver of the Chevrolet, identified as Henry Ruggs III, remained on the scene and showed signs of impairment. Henry Ruggs is a 22-year-old wide receiver, again, for the Raiders, formerly of the Alabama Crimson Tide, and a 2020 draft pick. He was the 12th pick overall in the NFL draft. So, again, some terrible, tragic news that could have been avoided out of the NFL, as Henry Ruggs III will be charged with DUI and also with DUI resulting in a death. If convicted, he would face up to from 2 to up to 20 years in prison. The NFL spokesman put out a statement today saying, "Our hearts go out to the family and friends of the victim of this horrific tragedy. We will continue to gather facts and monitor the matter under our policies, but our thoughts at this time are with those impacted by this devastating incident." The Raiders, in a quote, said the Raiders are aware of the incident involving Henry Ruggs III that occurred this morning in Las Vegas. We are devastated by the loss of life, and our thoughts and prayers go out to the victim's family. We are in the process of gathering information and will have no further comment at this time. So Ruggs' attorney asked that everyone, quote, reserve judgment until after all of the facts are gathered. 803-450-0086. Staying with the NFL, sources have come out and said the Miami Dolphins will not make a trade for Houston Texans quarterback Deshaun Watson. That news also according to ESPN. Although the Dolphins did their due diligence, according to the report, they did not make a trade offer before the NFL's trade deadline earlier today. So it appears the DW4 will continue to be in Houston. And it appears, as they say in the NASA business, Houston, we have a problem. Watson was asked to be traded back in January because he was unhappy with the process in Houston, and has since, of course, been a scratch the entire season after there have been, 23 now, I believe, lawsuits, maybe 22 active lawsuits against him, dealing with inappropriate behavior during massage sessions, etc. Watson's trade request came less than 6 months after he signed a 4-year, $156 million extension with the Texans that keeps him through under contract through 2025 with the team. So there's the latest news out of the NFL, and neither of it appears to be certainly the Henry Ruggs news. Not good. That's terrible for Ruggs, and certainly the family of the victim, man, just awful to imagine something like that happening. And then, of course, with Deshaun Watson, it looks more and more like he's going to be at least stuck in Houston for the foreseeable future at this point. 803-450-0086. Coming up on the program, Dabo Swanny spoke today. We also had a chance to hear from Tony Elliott yesterday, and we're trying to re-rack some of those videos for you and interviews for you over on our Twitter account, Facebook, and YouTube. So make sure you follow us and subscribe to that YouTube channel. Over 600 subscribers. We wanted to get to 1,000. I believe we would have been close if we were continuing to rock and roll with the live videos. Unfortunately, still trying to get the final little bit of that squared away. My buddy John, who is the engineer at iHeart, he's been out of pocket. Have not been able to connect with him to get the sync and the delay set up and working correctly. But once we do, we will lock in on that for sure. One final thing, get this. out of Georgia Southern, Statesboro. The Georgia Southern Eagles are currently in negotiations with former Southern Cal head coach Clay Helton. You heard that right. Clay Helton apparently and Georgia Southern are in conversations about potentially hooking up. Helton, who was fired back in September, could finalize an agreement within the next 24 hours to become Georgia Southern's new head coach. They fired Chad Lunsford after a 1-3 season. Helton was 1-1 when he was released from Southern Cal. Helton would be the first coach to be hired in a cycle that's already featured firings at Southern Cal, LSU, and most recently, Gary Patterson at TCU. Incredibly, this would seem like quite the backstep from a guy whose first head coaching gig came at one of the most preeminent programs in the history of college football at Southern Cal, and now would potentially be the head coach at a school that I don't know that he has a connection to in Georgia Southern. Clay Helton's from Gainesville, Florida. He played at Auburn and Houston. He was a grad assistant at Duke, spent some time at Houston and Memphis, and then was the head coach eventually at Southern Cal. But at nowhere along the way do I see any stop or connection to the Eagles down in Statesboro. But Clay Helton, talk about going from coast to coast and going from a power program to a smaller school is stunning. But nonetheless, that may be the situation that we are talking about in 24 hours down in Statesboro. We'll hit a quick break. We'll come back. We'll hear from Dabo Swanny in his press conference today, right after this.
The Gamecocks are coming off an open date. The Gators are coming off a beating by the Bulldogs. Hey, it's Christopher Thompson inviting you to join us Saturday afternoon for the best Gamecock coverage on 103.5 FM and 560 AM WVOC. We'll be set up at the Sharp Shop on Bluff Road in the shadows of Williams-Brice, getting you ready for Carolina and Florida Saturday night on the SEC Network. The best Gamecock coverage, game day on WVOC.
The new year can often bring big changes, some great and some unpleasant. If you're facing a divorce, consult the full-service legal team at Masella Law. Attorney Robert Masella has over 2 decades of experience fighting to protect his clients' assets and making sure that every detail of their divorce is handled carefully. Don't get overwhelmed by the legalities. Get in touch with Masella Law and get started towards your future.
748-9990. Give us a call or just log on MasellaLaw.com.
iHeartRadio Earth is here with little tips for a healthier planet. Aggressive driving, such as speeding, rapid acceleration, and hard braking, can lower your highway fuel economy by up to 40% and cost you up to $1.27 more per gallon in gasoline. Save money and reduce your transportation emissions by avoiding aggressive driving. Brought to you by iHeartRadio Earth and the National Environmental Education Foundation. To find more tips for smarter, sustainable living, or to take action in your own community, go to iHeartRadio.com/Earth.
It's your chance to win $1,000. Text the nationwide keyword GRAND to 200-200. You'll get a confirmation text and info. Standard data and message rates apply in the nationwide contest. That's GRAND to 200-200.
It's fall, y'all. Stay cool with this Wilson'sAir.com weather update.
If you have outside tasks, today is the day. Blue skies, sunshine, 73 degrees. For ABC Columbia Channel 25, I'm Tyler Ryan.
This report is sponsored by Discover. Discover matches all the cash back you earn on your credit card at the end of your first year. It's amazing because Discover is accepted at 99% of places in the U.S. that take credit cards. Learn more at discover.com/yes. 2021 Nielsen report limitations apply.
For victims of drunk and drug driving, our grief is unique, but you are not alone. MAD is here to help. Call our 24-hour victim helpline at 877-MAD-HELP or visit mad.org. That's MADD.org.
Steven.
Who said that?
Me, down here.
Ugh, what are you, a yellow booger?
I'm a banana slug, Steven.
Well, what are you doing in my room?
I'm your sense of adventure. Don't you remember me? Don't you know that we miss you?
Miss me? Who misses me?
You know, all your friends in the forest. The trees, the pond, that little fort that you made out of branches. We all miss you.
Mom took me to the forest last year.
I'm a slug, Steven. It took me a long time to get here.
Oh, I guess that makes sense.
The forest is not that far away. Have an adventure today. I'm sure your mom would take you.
You're right. I should get out. I want to have fun. Play in puddles, catch frogs, and climb trees. Hey, Mom!
Yeah, hon? Steven, what is that in your hand?
It's my sense of adventure, Mom. It's telling me we need to get out of the house and have some fun in nature today.
Come to the forest where the more adventurous you lives. Check out discovertheforest.org for cool places nearby. Brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service and the Ad Council.
Chances are there'll never be an emergency ever again. But just in case, let's talk about a plan.
Okay.
Who is going to grab the go bag?
What's a go bag? It is a bag we do not have that is filled with things we really, really need in an emergency.
Guess we won't have to worry about it then.
Well, this is great. I am so glad that we don't have a plan.
I know.
Winging it is not an emergency plan. Make sure your kids know what to do during an emergency, who to call, where to meet, what to pack. Visit ready.gov/kids for tips and information. Brought to you by FEMA and the Ad Council.
Sports Radio, Fox Attitude. You're listening to Fox Sports Radio, 1400.
It is the show that shakes the Southland Clemson Sports Talk. Lawton Swan on a Tuesday afternoon. Again, got a chance to catch up with Dabo Swanny earlier today as he met with the media in preparation for Clemson's game against Louisville. And here's what the head coach had to say about your Clemson Tigers and their upcoming matchup, 7:30 on the ACC Network Saturday night.
Well, we got another big challenge this week. This is another team that is way better than their record. They're 4-4, but literally two games that they're tied in the last minute that they lost, Virginia and Wake Forest. Obviously, Wake Forest is a top 10 team having a great year at Wake Forest. So this is a 4-4 team, but again, they're a handful. Do a great job coaching. Satterfield's got these guys playing hard. They do a good job with their schemes on both sides and positioning their players. The quarterback is another great player. It seems like every single week I look up and we're playing, a freak show at quarterback. And, a lot of veteran guys. This guy's played a lot of football, a ton of football, and he's just a great player. He's got a great skill set. He's an excellent runner. He's a problem with his legs, just like we've been seeing, but he's an excellent passer. And he's accurate. He will put the ball up. A lot of shots. Schematically, they, do a good job. They want to run the ball. They are running. There are 6 teams in the country right now that are averaging 200 rush and pass, and Louisville's one of them. Different from Syracuse, different from Florida State, in that this is a team that has a lot of balance, and that's how they've created a ton of explosives. I think they lead the country in plays of 70 yards or more, and so their ability to run the ball. And then the quarterback, threat is a problem.
Dabo Swanny again calling Malik Cunningham, I guess, like a freak show kind of athlete. And he was asked to maybe compare Malik Cunningham to a guy who's, won a Heisman Trophy and is lighting up in the NFL, Lamar Jackson. And just from the standpoint of the shake and wiggle and what he can do with the football in his hand.
Yeah, and if you look statistically, there's some similarities between those two guys. For sure. I know I read something in the scout report the other day that he and Lamar are the only two guys to do. I don't know what it was, but I'm sure it's rushing and passing from that position. I think there's only been 2 guys at Louisville do that. So he's definitely Lamar-esque for sure. I mean, he keeps you up at night. He can really create and turn a bad play into a good play. He's at 13 rushing touchdowns. He's a leading rusher. And you watch I can't remember who the game was, but I mean, you get down in the red zone and they drop back to throw the ball, and it's really nobody open, and he rushes for a touchdown. I mean, that's just, and they got a guy there, they just don't tackle him. He's a problem in space. So a lot like last week, you've got to, and I thought that was the best part of what we did in that game against the toughest guy that we've had to kind of really contain. We did a great job, with our leverage, with our rush technique. We didn't over rush. We squeezed. Our tackles did a great job on a lot of our twist game stuff. And the one play that Root made, for example, the one that he redirected, knocked the ball, and they ended up saying he was down. But Root makes that play because of what Tyler Davis did. Tyler didn't really get credit for it, but because of how he executed his technique on a game there and leveraged him, when he spun out and Tyler was there, Root was able to get him. And so that's the challenge, is because if you give him an edge, you're in trouble. And so he's, like I said, it just seems like every week we look up and we got a guy that is not one-dimensional, a guy that can beat you a lot of different ways.
Dabo Swanny was also asked about interior defensive lineman Tyler Davis and his football IQ and just sort of recognizing shifts and everything as it takes place in game.
I mean, he's been coached a lot. It's his third year. He came here as a very smart player and a very fundamentally sound player coming in here, and that's why you saw him play right away as a freshman. Got a great toolbox, as far as all his rush techniques and his run, the way he plays the run, great recognition. And then that's just, that foundation has just grown since he's been here with his knowledge. So he's just a very smart player, and it makes a difference. You're not just out there playing like the game, and you're not just doing a call, like you recognize, you have block recognition, protection, backfield sets. You really take advantage of the tips and tendencies and reminders and all those things that come with game planning. He's just one of those guys that takes a lot of pride in that.
And speaking of that defensive line, Swanny was asked about the film and the opportunity to watch what they did against Jordan Travis Saturday in Death Valley.
He redirected it, but again, TD made the play. He didn't get the credit. TD makes the play because he was where he was supposed to be, and there was nowhere for him to go. So he redirected, and then he had to come back, and Rook had him. So that was the best part of the game for me. I mean, 6 sacks on that guy, getting him down, that's a day's work, because he is a really, really good player, and we just played with a lot more discipline in that area. We missed several sacks at Pitt. I mean, several, where we had him and just didn't, we let him outside, we let him escape. We didn't stay on the upfield shoulder, just some basic things. And so it was good to see us, make the type of improvement, this past week that we needed.
So there you go, some of Dabo Swanny's audio from earlier today. We'll come back to some of this in hour number 2 after we talk with William Qualkenbush. 803-450-0086. Text line, phone line. Be a part of the show that shakes the South Lane anytime, any place, anywhere. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Don't forget to download the podcast. Check out the website. I mean, I just need to say, do the smorgasbord. Go out and do the smorgasbord. Everything you can with Clemson Sports Talk. Twitter, Facebook, YouTube. Subscribe. Like and share. Help us grow. We can't do it without you. It's the people show. We need the people. All right, coming up here on the program, we'll talk a little bit about some national and local awards, and then we'll head to hour number 2 with William Qualkenbush. Stay with us.
For 28 years, the professional staff of the Hobbs Group and Hobbs Group Advisors has been dedicated to helping others achieve their financial goals by delivering quality, objective financial and accounting solutions to a diverse client base of individuals and businesses all over South Carolina. We offer tax and audit services, bookkeeping, payroll, litigation support, employee benefits, personal financial planning, investment management, and insurance services. Please call us at 803-799-0555 or visit our website, hobbscpa.com, to learn more about our people and services.
Let me tell you who I trust to protect my home and my family. Modern Exterminating. Hey, it's Lawton Swan, and when you need top quality service from a team that knows what bugs you, call Modern Exterminating, 765-2315. They're locally owned and offer a full complement of pest elimination services, including complete pest control, termite plans, moisture control, and more. Check out Modern Exterminating online at pestfreesc.com or give them a call today, 765-2315. Modern Exterminating. They know what bugs you.
Introducing the world's first spam call-free second phone number app, SwitchUp. SwitchUp can revolutionize your small business. Features include unlimited calling and texting, do not disturb mode, auto replies, and more, with options for multiple lines and the ability to set business hours. SwitchUp is spam call-free. SwitchUp. Get your phone number in less than 3 minutes with SwitchUp. Download today and get 40% off your first year of SwitchUp. Learn more at GetSwitchUp.com.
It's the holiday season, and that is the worst time for a plumbing issue. If something does come up, then you need to know my friends at On Call Plumbing, Heating, and Air. Like their name implies, they're on call. Plus, they'll always send you a trained technician, not a trained salesperson. OnCallSC.com or call 781-HELP.
On Call Plumbing, Heating, and Air. Pick up the phone and we'll be right there. Call 781-HELP.
Lowe's Provember event is back, and we're thanking pros like you all month long with buy one, get one free deals on select DeWalt power tools and top values like a Spider 2-pack of 4.5-inch diamond cutoff wheels for $14.98. Join us for Provember, going on now through November 24th. Shop in-store or at Lowe's.com/Provember. Lowe's, the new home for pros. While supplies last, U.S. only, valid 10/28 through 11/24.
When others treat your fries as an afterthought, all you're left with are cold, soggy fries. That's why Wendy's new fries are ones you won't forget, guaranteed to be hot and crispy, or we'll replace them. We're talking natural cut, skin-on fries, perfectly seasoned with a hint of sea salt. In fact, they're even preferred almost 2-to-1 over McDonald's. These are fries so hot and crispy, they beg a new question.
What would you like with your fries?
Try them today, only at Wendy's.
At participating U.S. Wendy's, taste preference based on a national taste test by an independent research company.
I'm Colleen Wolfe from Thursday Night Football and Good Morning Football Weekend.
And I'm Ricky Hollywood from Around the NFL and the broadcast.
On our new podcast, Split Ends, Ricky and I will be coming to you every week to talk about all the important and unimportant storylines in the football world.
Join us for the stories on and off the field that matter. We'll break down games, news stories, tweets, interviews, whatever it takes to cover the ins and outs of the NFL world.
Listen to Split Ends on the iHeartRadio app or wherever you get your podcasts.
For 60 years now, the Federation Center of the Blind has been making a difference in the lives of visually impaired South Carolinians through its innovative services. You can help them continue their important work by calling 803-254-3777 or emailing nfbsc@sc.rr.com. $1,000 in your hand.
Yes!
Win $1,000 every hour. At least 12 chances every weekday.
Oh my God!
$1,000 in your hand on Fox Sports Radio 1400.
Final segment of hour number one. We'll hear a little bit more from Dabo Swanny coming up in hour number two. 803-450-0086. Text line, phone line. Again, be a part of the program. Anytime, any place, anywhere. Did not mention this yesterday, meant to, but you know how it is. Sometimes you get so caught up with one thing, you cannot get to it all. Miles Murphy earned ACC Co-Defensive Lineman of the Week honors, and as well as Will Shipley and Will Spires, who also collected national honors. But the Atlantic Coast Conference announced on Monday, Miles Murphy earned the ACC Co-Defensive Lineman of the Week for his performance in Clemson's 30-20 victory over Florida State on Saturday. Murphy will share the honor with Florida State's Jermaine Johnson II. Now, I just think the team that wins should probably have the guy and not split with the guy that got beat. But, hey, I don't make the rules. Clemson, however, has now earned 549 weekly honors since 1968, including 8 honors this season. The weekly honor is Murphy's first of the season and second of his career, joining an ACC Rookie of the Week selection for his play last year against Virginia Tech. Against Florida State, Murphy recorded 5 tackles, 3 for a loss, including a career-high tying 2 sacks after a review, making his 2 sacks a collegiate debut, matching his 2 sacks in his collegiate debut at Wake Forest back in 2020. Currently, Murphy leads Clemson with 6 sacks on the season. He also blocked a PAT against the Seminoles, which was Clemson's first blocked kick since Brian Brazee blocked a field goal attempt at Wake Forest in 2020 in that season opener as well. Now, the honor for Clemson's is Clemson's first for a defensive lineman this year, and his first since Justin Foster won the ACC Defensive Lineman of the Week for his performance against Louisville all the way back in 2019, if you can believe that. Additionally, Will Shipley, I mentioned, and Will Spires both earned national honors. Shipley earned the Horning Award Honor Roll selection after touching the ball 31 times, 3 different ways, recording a team in season-high 128 yards rushing and 2 scores, including the go-ahead touchdown on a 21-yard run in the final 3 minutes of action. Will Spires averaged 51.5 yards on 4 punts, earning the Ray Guy Award. Ray's 8 list for last week. He had all 4 of his punts down inside the 20-yard line, one shy of his career record of 5 punts down inside the 20 against both Ohio State and LSU in 2 college football playoff games back in 2019. So there you go. A couple of national awards and a couple of local awards out of the Atlantic Coast Conference as well. 803-450-0086 text line, phone line. That's the way that you can be a part of this program and hang out with us. And again, congratulations to Miles Murphy, Will Shipley, and Will Spires. And speaking of the defensive line, you know, thinking about the play that we've seen from Xavier Thomas, and of course, it was mentioned earlier by John Blau. Yeah, I think he has been quite the bright spot, right? Like, if you look at his career as a whole, coming in as a 5-star kid with tremendous expectations, I think everybody from top to bottom really expected he was going to blow the roof off. And at some points in his career early on, he did. I mean, an elite level of power and speed off the edge, perhaps showcased the most by his just vicious hit on the Syracuse quarterback in Death Valley a few years ago. And now I feel like you really have seen XT take some tremendous strides. I mean, it really does feel like when you watch him in moments that he is playing similarly to how he played several seasons ago. Additionally, there was also a play in that ball game, and more than one, but a play with Rook Ororo that I was really impressed with his play, because here he is chasing Jordan Travis, and Travis is weaving and bobbing and moving, and Rook is all over him. I mean, he's like sticky on honey. I mean, he's after this guy. And to me, when you think about the losses that Clemson's had up front, and yeah, getting Tyler Davis back has helped. But I mentioned this probably 3 or 4 days ago, or 3 or 4 shows ago. Think about the advantage that Clemson is gaining with the type of snaps and minutes that these younger players are now getting and what the future could be. I think the other thing about Clemson next season, where I'm sure out of the gates there will be question marks because of what we've seen this year, there is also going to be very high marks expected out of this group. And how many of these guys end up returning and deciding that they want to continue to play another season, I think is a huge potential catalyst towards, are you a top 5 team coming into next year, a top 10 team, or are you just and also ran outside of the top 10? Furthermore, I think from the Clemson perspective, this offseason, it's going to be fun. I mean, for guys like me who cover it, for years, it's just been the expectation. We even talked about it all this year that this was going to be Clemson, Alabama, Ohio State, and Oklahoma. And for whatever reason, maybe it's the super senior years, maybe it's the transfer portal, the playing field seems as level as it has been in a while. I mean, outside of Georgia, everybody has looked vulnerable at one time or another, and maybe even more than once. But if you flash forward ahead, and again, you are in the final month of the regular season, if you flash forward ahead, is Clemson, going to be ranked and judged based off of their historical play or what they look like this year? And I think probably more so this year. And that creates great intrigue of where they'll be. Hour number 2 coming up. Stay with us.
Clemson Sports Talk with Lawton Swan on Columbia's home for sports. Fox Sports Radio 1400. Now, Columbia's most dependable traffic, sponsored by Pope Davis Tire and Automotive, home of the best tire prices in Columbia, guaranteed. Fox Sports Radio 1400 traffic.
Look out for an accident on Emory Lane at St. Andrews. Also a wreck on I-20 westbound near the Camden exit. The 103.5 FM WVOC traffic tip line number is 343-1055.
This report is sponsored by Pizza Hut.
The original stuffed crust from Pizza Hut is so cheesy you'll want to eat it backwards. But what if we played this song backwards?
One topping, just $12.99.
No one outpizzas the Hut. Ask for a limited time offer. Not available in some locations. Exclusions apply. Extra charge for more toppings and extra cheese.
Fall is here, and so are the Studemeyer Heating and Air rebates. Flex your way to savings on a top-of-the-line Bryant Evolution Extreme with a 10-year parts and labor warranty and get a free air purification system, a $2,000 value. Get up to $500 direct rebate on Bryant Preferred Series gas packs and package heat pumps, or up to $2,000 off on split systems. Financing options available, including 12 months same as cash. Go to StudemeierHeating.com to flex your rebates and save money now. That's StudemeierHeating.com.
Hi, it's Gary David. Are you ready to take a shot at finding a new career? FN America, a growing world-class design and manufacturer of the world's most innovative and quality firearms, is looking for you. At FN, you'll be part of a passionate team that takes pride in knowing they're doing their part to save lives and protect our freedom. FN offers outstanding benefits, including an on-site health and wellness center, excellent health plans, profit sharing, and 401k plan for all employees. So start carrying your future today and explore career opportunities at fnamerica.com/careers.
We first opened about 10 years ago. We were small, just a few of us, but it was exciting. I always dreamt of having my own business. It was kind of slow at first, but things started picking up. We had big plans, but in our wildest dreams, we never thought we'd have this much work. Yeah, with so many businesses caught off guard by the storm, Reed Waste Management has never been busier.
What will become of your business after a disaster? Nearly 2/3 of businesses aren't prepared for an emergency, and 40% of businesses that experience a disaster never recover. Make an emergency plan now before it's too late. For a free online tool that helps you develop an emergency plan to keep your business up and running should disaster strike, visit ready.gov/business. Brought to you by the Federal Emergency Management Agency, the American Red Cross, and the Ad Council.
You're not wired to have a response to this sound. You're neutral to it. You hear it every time you finish a meal and never feel anything. But if we were able to associate this sound with a new stimulus, save the food, we've achieved pulling a natural response from you. Save the food. Why are we doing this, you may ask? Save the food. Because this ad is trying to change your after-meal behavior through brainwashing. Because food waste costs the average family $1,500 a year. Save the food, cha-ching, and $1,500 extra bucks is like getting a pay raise. Save the food. Cha-ching. You're promoted. Which could pay for your child's braces. Save the food. Cha-ching. You're promoted.
Check out my braces.
So when you hear this sound, rethink your behavior. Cook it, store it, share it. Just don't waste it. For tips and recipes, visit savethefood.com. Brought to you by NRDC and the Ad Council.
Whoa, long time no see. It's me, the Rock t-shirt in the back of your closet. Dude, remember? You crowd surfed in me, man. But you haven't worn me in like forever. I get it, you're retired, but I still got some rock left in me. So take me to Goodwill, where I can really make a difference.
Your donations to Goodwill create jobs, training programs, and education assistance for people in your community. To find your nearest donation center, go to goodwill.org. Donate stuff. Create jobs. A message from Goodwill and the Ad Council.
WCOS Columbia, Fox Sports Radio 1400, an iHeart radio station available everywhere on our free iHeartRadio app. #1 for music, radio, and podcasts, all in one.
It's time for Clemson Sports Talk with Lawton Swan.
Just call me Swanny.
Tiger style. Tiger style.
It is hour number 2. That's drive time right here on the show that shakes the Southland. And without further ado, we peek over the fence in the backyard of the South Carolina Gamecocks as Clemson and South Carolina will face off a little later this month. Mike, what's going on, big guy? Welcome in.
It's just crazy to hear you say that South Carolina and Clemson will be playing later this month, something that hasn't took place since, 2019. And not just that, but the fact that the season has flown by this quickly. And not to, steal the show from you, Swanny, but we're already in November and South Carolina's offense is still basically MIA. I mean, it's absolutely insane.
Well, you're preaching to the choir. Clemson's offense eerily similar. I mean, I saw a post on social media that said it was I don't know if it was a Clemson fan or a South Carolina fan, but they said, "Man, I can't wait for that Clemson South Carolina game so that all the fans can just stand there in the stadium and cry."
It's going to be on ESPN The Ocho. I think that's what I'm being told.
Oh, goodness. All right. So let's talk about the possibilities here. There is one kind of interesting subplot to this weekend's matchup for South Carolina and Florida at this point. I don't know how this will all play out, but Dan Mullen's on the hot seat. And a year ago, it was South Carolina head coach Will Muschamp, the former Florida coach, who was on the hot seat. I think legitimately, I'm assuming Dan Mullen makes it to this ball game on Saturday. If they were to lose to South Carolina, that could be it. Like, that could be all for Dan Mullen at Florida. I mean, am I way off on that?
No, I don't think you are, because when you look at it from a historical standpoint, in terms of what that program means, and obviously the success they have had, and not just, obviously recent years it's been a little bumpy, right? But in terms of just the big picture of it all, Florida is one of those teams that you expect to be pushing for at least an SEC East title every year. Obviously, Georgia has been that team the last couple seasons, but Florida's kind of just fallen off the map. And when you're not able to get that consistent positive result, what happens? Well, go look at LSU. Go look what happened. Just 2 years. It wasn't even 2 years. They basically pulled the rug under Coach O, saying, "Hey, you're done at the end of the season." So it doesn't really matter these days what you do in terms of you have a nice season here or there. You want to be able to be consistent. And if you're a team like Florida, just like LSU, if you're not getting the results done, what happens? The boosters start yapping, fans start crying, and this is a result-driven business. And if anything, now more than ever, I feel like that leash just becomes shorter and shorter and shorter. Now, of course, Dan Mullen, I'm a fellow New England guy, so I know that he probably rubs a lot of people the wrong way here in the South. I get that. I understand some of the quirky things that he says that doesn't necessarily resonate with people the same way down here. I'm sure he's rubbed a lot of people the wrong way in terms of how he's handled certain things. Just think back to some of the comments he made last year during COVID and how that rubbed some people the wrong way. So I know he's already rubbed some people the wrong way within that building as far as Florida is concerned. But if you lose to a South Carolina team who, even though they're 4-4, it seems like it's much worse because that offense has just been god awful. You lose to South Carolina this weekend, that could be all she wrote for Mr. Mullen.
There you go. Look, wouldn't that be the height of irony? Mike Uva again's on Twitter at Mike_UVA. So with that, an off week, a bye week, a chance to refresh, get the legs back underneath you a little bit. I know some coaches, Tommy Bowden joins the program every Friday afternoon. He tells me that's a bunch of hogwash to get your legs back underneath you. He's like, these guys play a full game of football, then they go out to the dance club until 2 a.m. The legs underneath them's not an issue. But how positive, or what's the positive things of having this week off, in your opinion, for South Carolina from a standpoint of game prep and getting ready for the Gators, et cetera?
Shoot, you have an extra day to go out to the bar and be able to grab a drink. I mean, it might not be the same exact way these days in comparison to what it used to be because there's social media everywhere. But, I mean, that's the God's honest truth. You have a little bit more time to go relax. I mean, I just think back to our bye weeks, and I know it's apples to oranges comparing D2 to Division I, especially the SEC or a Power 5 school for that matter, if it was Clemson. But you're able to decompress a little bit. So I think more than anything, what a bye week allows you to do is allows you to kind of reset from a mental standpoint. Because I agree with Coach Bowden when he says from a physical standpoint, it's not exactly what you think. Now, with that being said, and I'm sure Coach would say the exact same thing that I'm about to say, in terms of how practices are these days, I mean, you could say the same for training camp. I'll use a phrase that my old college coach would say, especially towards the end of my college days, and I know it's continued to become softer in this regard. It's Camp Candyland. You don't really have as many full days, full padded practice days. You know, it's not as physical, the practices, as a comparison to back in the day. So I say all that because you're not going out there killing each other as much as you used to during practice anyway back in the day. But with that being said, yes, you're able to kind of, gather yourself from a fresh of the leg standpoint in that regard. But I think for South Carolina, more than anything, it's just going back to the basics. And that's one of the questions I asked Coach Beamer on Sunday night during his weekly teleconference. Did you really focus more on that training camp style, which is going back and working on yourself, or how much did you kind of look ahead to Florida? And he said it was pretty much going back to the basics, going back and being able to correct the things that they need to work on internally. Yeah. And that's not a shocker, because when you look at what South Carolina has done this year, and I wrote this in a recent piece on Gamecock Central, offensively, it's been a mess, right? But if you look at it in comparison to last year, defensively, they still have work to be done, but they're much better where they were in comparison to a year ago. Special teams, it's night and day how much better they are. Offensively, they took steps back. And it's kind of like going into a new kitchen, Swanny, right? Renovated kitchen, you see beautiful countertops, you got a nice fridge and this and that, but there's just this awful, god-awful smell coming from the trash. And it's just taking your mind off of everything nice in that kitchen. And that god-awful smell in the trash is that offense. So you can't appreciate everything else that's being built in front of you, that new kitchen in front of you. You have to go outside and, you got to be able to breathe that fresh air a little bit. And that fresh air was this bye week. So I think it allows you to realize, hey, look, there's going to be people that are upset on the outside. They're going to say that, this team's not as good as this or that. Are they perfect? Absolutely not. But let's remember, this was a 2-8 team from a year ago. And I don't care, like I said, I don't care who they've beat before this season and compared to last season. They beat 2 SEC teams last season. That's great. They have 4 wins right now. This was not a great team last year. They're making progress. This is a rebuilding year. You need to realize that. But what can you do to show just any type of progress from an offensive standpoint? Do I expect them to go out, score 30 points these last 4 weeks each week? Absolutely not. But show progress, because when you only have 15 yards of freaking offense after 3 quarters against another SEC team, how are you supposed to look at your fan base? How are you supposed to look at the athletic director? How are you supposed to look at the boosters and say, we are making progress? Because they're not from an offensive standpoint. That is what they need to do more than anything. And of course, you need to be able to play good defense and good special teams in terms of all 3 phases. But a lot of people are going to look at the offense this week and say, what did you do differently over the bye week to get ready? The offensive philosophy, it's not going to go out the window. but you have to make some type of adjustments to show that you're making progress.
Mike Yuva with us here on the program again from Gamecock Central. Mike, Zeb Nolan had some, I guess, had a little surgery, a little cleanup. What's his status? I know it's still early in the week, but what did he have done, and what should Gamecock fans expect from him moving forward?
Little cleanup on the old meniscus, and that came out, I believe, I'm trying to remember the dates now as I get back into the swing of things into game week. That came out, I believe, last Monday. And basically what South Carolina said, I think a lot of people, especially with how things were, I don't want to say handled, but how Will Muschamp presented injuries in the injury report, it's kind of leaving people with a little PTSD, right?
Mm-hmm.
In terms of how Muschamp went about saying, this guy, we expect him to be back. And what would happen? The guy would be out like a month. So I don't think Beamer has been misleading with injuries. I think, unfortunately, some guys heal a little bit differently than others. But when that came out saying, okay, Zeb's just having a little cleanup, meniscus, minor surgery, we expect him to be ready to go for the Florida game if need be, instantly everyone starts going nuts. But what happened? Zeb's been out there at practice. He's been limited, but he's been out there. So do I expect Zeb to start this week? I don't. But I also think that if it comes down to it, he will go in there. I remember going into the Georgia game, Beamer said on the broadcast, I believe it was one of the local radio stations that he does before kickoff, he said, no, we don't expect to use Doty tonight. Well, I put a report out maybe 30 minutes beforehand saying that Zeb Nolan would start and Doty would play if needed. And what happened on that first series? Zeb went down, Doty went in. So I think there's a combination of some gamemanship. Obviously coaches don't want to tip all their cards, but at the same time too, I do believe it is truly one of those things that you go day by day. How does Zeb feel? How is he handling from a pain standpoint if it's pain? But at the same time too, we've got to the point of the year that if Jason Brown is a guy that you feel like can at least push Luke Doty next year, or perhaps a guy that you go and get from the transfer portal at the quarterback position, and you feel like he can be able to create some competition in that room next year, then you want to be able to see what he can do, especially having an opportunity to start. I mean, it's a heck of a game to be able to make your SEC starting debut. You're not playing in the NEC, which I'm sure so many of your listeners are familiar with. That is the conference that he came from St. Francis. I mean, shoot, I played a couple NEC teams back in my day. They're a Division I AA team. So it's going to be a big difference for Brown. And obviously he had an opportunity to go in against Texas A&M, but that was more so towards garbage time. What is it going to be like when you're going up against SEC starters against a team like Florida, who's going to be pretty pissed off after what happened last week against them?
Mike, taking a look again, Mike Yuva, GamecockCentral.com. Of course, you know him on Twitter at Mike_UVA. He's the biscuit king of the South. Don't let anybody tell you otherwise. Mike, when it comes down to, I'd prefer to be the clam chowder king of the North, but that's just me. But
I had my clam chowder when I went.
I saw you. I saw you, man.
I
Listen,
knew
I'm
it
a little
happens
jealous
every
every time you go home. Just to be honest with you, I'm gonna send you up there next time with like a cooler. You could pack some ice and bring me back some lobster and get me rocking and rolling with the good stuff.
We got you. My parents are driving down. We'll just have them bring a cooler. We'll bring all the Southern food down, and we'll, I'll give you some, and then any of your listeners that want, we'll just, charge like $50 or whatever for like a little bowl of clam chowder. We'll figure out a nice little.
There we go. Authentic. There we go. That's how we'll do it. Me and you can retire. We'll ride off into the sunset. Now, that defensive front for South Carolina, I know Tiger fans know Zach Pickens, certainly know Jordan Birch, know their recruitment. Know their resumes, but they're not the only two guys there on that defensive front. But it's really been, for me, kind of when I've had a chance to watch South Carolina, maybe one of the brighter spots on that team, both offensively and defensively. I mean, what have you taken away from what those two guys are kind of turning out to be, and then more specifically, just what that defensive front has meant to this team so far?
I mean, this was the unit going into the season that we heard so much about, that this was going to be the position group that was going to be the catalyst. It was going to lead the charge. And it's so important, too, when you think about it from a defensive line standpoint, because I don't care who you have in the secondary. You could have 4 All-Americans, 2 corners, 2 safeties. But if you don't put any pass rush on a quarterback, you're not going to be able to play good defense, because at some point they're going to be able to find ways to pick your defense apart, even if you have 4 All-Americans in the secondary. So we heard a lot about him. And one guy in particular we heard so much about. And I think, unfortunately, you can kind of compare it in a sense to J.C. Horn, because when you're playing for a team that's not doing so well, especially a defense that, you think back to last year, South Carolina's defense was just an absolute mess. If you didn't have an opportunity to see J.C. Horn week in and week out, you would just assume that he wasn't that good. Well, that wasn't the case. And a guy that just happens to wear the same number as J.C. did last year, J.J. Inambare, he's one of the best pass rushers right now in the entire country, playing that defensive end position. So you mentioned a guy like Birch, you mentioned a guy like Pickens. Inambare is a guy that most likely will be one of the top defensive players picked next year in the NFL draft. So another first-round draft pick coming from South Carolina, and not just being another first-round draft pick, but another guy coming from that defensive line position in particular. So when you look back over the last couple of years, yes, you can go all the way back to the Jadeveon Clowney days, but that's been a while ago. The point being is the players that Muschamp recruited on the defensive line, they've turned out to be some pretty good studs. It's just unfortunate that it just hasn't resulted in the wins. And I know Gamecock fans are growing impatient with that, whether that be this season, whether that be going back the last couple of years. But that's a position in particular, whether it be defensive end, whether it be defensive tackle, just that defensive line group as a whole, they've done a very nice job. Now, with that being said, not just them, but the entire defense, especially the front seven, can do a much better job with their run defense. That has been something that they've been shaky in. And with Florida, I would not be shocked to see them try to come out there. Obviously, they got a tremendous dual threat quarterback that's going to put a lot of strain on South Carolina's secondary to make sure that they're latching on to their receivers when, the quarterback goes outside, scramble rules. I would not be shocked to see Florida try to beat South Carolina between the tackles, trying to run the football, because that is something USC just has not been consistent with, especially when you get into the second half. Kentucky did it to them. Vanderbilt was able to pick things up. That has just been something they've really struggled with. So hopefully that's something that they can make adjustments toward, because if they don't, doesn't matter how good of a defensive line you have, you're not going to be able to stop anyone if you can't stop the run, especially if you know it's coming at you.
Mike, sort of a curveball here to wrap things up with you. I know Texas A&M and Auburn are facing off Saturday. The Auburn Tigers, if they win out, would win the SEC West, which is, again, with having the game against A&M and obviously a game against Alabama looming, it's not easily done. But I think most of the country has thought that this was going to culminate in the SEC with Georgia and Alabama and maybe 2 teams into the college football playoff. But boy, could Auburn and that team be the fly in the ointment that very few people have talked about so far this year, or what?
No question about it, because you think about so many changes that came to that coaching staff. One of the major ones that South Carolina fans, I know a year ago, was saying they wanted to see this guy get the hell out of town, but now they're probably saying, man, I wish he stuck around for at least another year, is Mike Bobo. The philosophy that Bobo has from an offensive standpoint is tremendous. And I think, unfortunately for USC, it was a combination of 2 things last year. One, it was a new philosophy, new offensive scheme that they were learning because it had pro-style principles built in. But at the same time, too, what he was able to do was he was able to turn a guy that no one expected to do really anything last year, at least on the outside, not inside that building, and Kevin Harrison turned him into the leading rusher in the SEC. Well, Harris, yes, he's been banged up a little bit with some injuries. He had minor back surgery before the season. He's had a ankle injury that's kind of lingered over the last couple of weeks, and it's kind of hindered him a little bit. But the point being is he just hasn't been himself. He's been a shell of himself from a year ago. So I mention all that because Bobo has just done a tremendous job with this offense. And I think more than anything, what this does and shows is that the SEC West, as we've always known it to be, more competitive in comparison to the SEC East from top to bottom. This just goes to show that, the days of just Alabama being able to go out there and you just thinking, I think we're going to probably, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but we kind of just assume that Alabama is going to be in the mix year in and year out. But It just shows just how competitive the West is really getting. Who knows how long Lane Kiffin's going to be over there? I think we all expect that one day, he could wake up and Lane's going to be out of town, but he's done a good job with Ole Miss. He's turned that program around. Texas A&M, they had a rough start at the beginning of the year, but now they're starting to play like the team I think a lot of people expected them to be. And now you just throw in another team like Auburn. So, I mean, just the way that this season could end, especially in the SEC, and knowing that Auburn, of course, still has to play Alabama in the Iron Bowl, it's going to make things very, very interested in that division. And, boy, could you imagine a Will Muschamp Georgia team taking on a Mike Bobo Auburn team in the SEC championship? I think Gamecock fans will go apple picking that day. That's the case.
Brian Harrison, what a job he's done there. A little tie to Clemson as well as former Clemson Tiger defensive lineman Nick Eason is the defensive line coach for the Auburn Tigers. Mike, buddy, always appreciate your insight. Look forward to chatting with you next Tuesday, my man.
Appreciate you, Swanny. You have a good one, bud.
Again, go follow Mike today at Mike_UVA. He's from Gamecock Central. All right. With a quick break, we'll come back with more here on a Tuesday afternoon of the People Show. It is Clemson Sports Talk. Keep it locked on Fox Sports Radio 1400.
It's your chance to win $1,000. Text the nationwide keyword GREEN to 200-200. You'll get a confirmation text and info. Standard data and message rates apply in the nationwide contest. That's GREEN to 200-200. Now, Columbia's most dependable traffic, sponsored by Pope Davis Tire and Automotive, home of the best tire prices in Columbia, guaranteed. Fox Sports Radio 1400 traffic.
Look out for an accident on Emory Lane at St. Andrews. Also a wreck on I-20 westbound near the Camden exit. The 103.5 FM WVOC traffic tip line number is 343-1055.
This report is sponsored by Lowe's Foods. We did it. The Buy Low at 1419 Chapin Road is now a full-fledged brand spanking chicken cluck and local loving veggie chop and draft pouring new Lowe's Foods. The grand opening of your local Lowe's Foods is here. Get excited.
Can Carolina bounce back after a bye week? Hey, it's Christopher Thompson. The Gamecocks start their November stretch run Saturday night at Williams-Brice as they host the Florida Gators. Join us for the best Gamecock coverage on 103.5 FM and 560 AM WVOC. We'll be set up right outside the stadium, getting you ready for the matchup between the 4-4 Gamecocks and the 4-4 Gators. Then we'll take your calls after the game so you can tell the fans how you feel. The best Gamecock coverage, game day on WVOC.
Breathe easier in your home with Zero Res Air Duct Cleaning. It's the only company I trust to get my home insanely clean. Right now, when you mention the station, you can get $30 off your next air duct cleaning plus 15% off filters and purifiers. Schedule online at ZeroResColumbia.com.
Help the planet with a tip from iHeartRadio Earth. Education doesn't just take place in the classroom. There are many ways for children of all ages to learn about sustainability and environmental education at home. Visit iHeartRadio.com/Earth for a list of resources, activity guides, and toolkits that are educational and fun for the whole family. Brought to you by iHeartRadio Earth and the National Environmental Education Foundation. To find more tips for smarter, sustainable living, or to take action in your own community, go to iHeartRadio.com/Earth.
Hey guys, Lawton Swan here. I was hanging out in the backyard with my son Mason a couple of years ago, and he said, "Dad, you're the best father ever." When I asked him why, he said, "Because when I go outside to play, I don't get eaten up by the bugs anymore." Imagine that, me a hero, when all I did was call my good buddy Trey Powell at Mosquito Joe. With their routine service plan, no more bugs and no more bites. Make yourself the family hero. Call Mosquito Joe today, 803-223-7916. That's 803-223-7916. Outside is fun again.
Hey, there he is. How's it going?
I'm having a stroke.
Are you going to shake my hand or what?
I'm having a stroke.
Wow, you're not even moving your arm.
I'm having a stroke.
Are you okay?
I'm having a stroke.
Your face looks weird too.
I'm having a stroke.
Are you having a seizure or something?
I'm having a stroke.
When someone is having a stroke, they may not be able to say it with words, but their body language will tell you loud and clear.
I'm having a stroke.
You just need to know the sudden signs. Look for FAST, F-A-S-T. F, face drooping. A, arm weakness. Or S, speech difficulty. Then T, time. Time to call 911 immediately, because the sooner they get to the hospital, the sooner they'll get treatment. And that can make a remarkable difference in their recovery. Know the sudden signs. Face, arm, speech, time. Spot a stroke fast. Visit strokeassociation.org. Brought to you by the American Stroke Association and the Ad Council. We need you to help the Federation Center of the Blind continue its life-changing mission of opening more doors to blind South Carolinians. Please call us at 803-254-3777 or email nfbsc@sc.rr.com
to see how you can volunteer or make a donation. Looking for South Carolina's favorite country? You'll find it at 97.5 WCOS.
The show that shakes the Southland on a Tuesday. Great catching up with William Qualkenbush there. And I do want to jump back into some of this Dabo Swanny audio for you from earlier today. And again, you can get this full audio over on ClemsonSportsTalk.com. But Dabo Swanny was asked about sort of having to adapt his defense to what Malik Cunningham will bring to the table.
Yeah, I think the good news is we've had a lot of experience this year. You know, I mean, we've seen a lot of stuff, and, you know, we've seen they've got their own nuances within their scheme, but, you know, there's some similarities to, you know, their formationing, how they play action. I mean, they're similar to NC State in a lot of areas, that they're very committed to running the stretch and the boots off of it. And so, you know, they're trying to always, you know, divide your defense. Guys are cutting you backside, and if you get cut down backside or your linebacker overruns it, that ball's out the back door, and then you got to play the boots too. So, you know, you can't over pursue, and then here goes the quarterback, you know, out the back, because now you got a problem, because now he's a runner and a thrower, and so you have to keep him. Starts with keeping him contained. You've got to keep him in the pocket. You can't let him just be a free runner and overcommit. And if you do pursue, you got to have an answer. You got to have somebody that's playing the backside. And then you throw in the fact, again, they're tackle over, and they got to, you know, tackle over, and they're running a lead stretch. And those big bodies are flying down the line. And I mean, it only takes a little crease. As you saw, we ran the stretch. That's the big play we hit with Maffa last week. And it don't take much, you know, a little bit of a crease, and it's a big game. So, you know, a lot like NC State, that will be a challenge for us. We got to do a great job up front. We got to win the line of scrimmage, and we've got to be very, very disciplined. Safeties there's a lot of conflict for those guys, because there's you know, ton of run, a ton of play action. That's their bread and butter. So safeties have to play the run, and they got to read through the play action, and we got to handle the formations and the crossers, and we've gotten better at that, you know. But this will be another spin on it this week.
Dabo Swanny was also asked about some of the struggles Clemson's had on the road. Obviously, that Georgia game, a neutral site game, but at NC State and at Pitt, both losses. Here's what he had to say about that.
First of all, we played Georgia. They're really good. We were just great on defense and made the critical mistake, you know, turnover. Same thing at NC State, double overtime game. We didn't make the critical play. We had critical turnover. We had critical penalty. You know, and that was the difference in the game. You know, so I mean, we had opportunities, but we're much better than we were then, for sure. And then you get up there at Pitt, and we're in position. We weren't opportunistic. And I think that's the biggest thing. And that's what I was happy to see last week. We just made a lot of the routine plays, and we did a good job, but we still had the critical turnover, just like we did at Pitt. And so that's something we just can't do. So I think for us, it's you know, the foundation, just standing on that, man. Our efforts got to be amazing. We got to physically win the matchup. We got to take care of the ball. We can't have stupid penalties. You know, don't help them. But main thing offensively is just be opportunistic. You know, I mean, we didn't do that the last time on the road, and opportunities there. We just didn't kind of seize the moment. And I think when you're on the road and you got those opportunities, you got to seize that moment. I mean, it could have been 14-0. You know, probably should have been 17-0 in that first half. You know, but we turn it over in the red zone on a bad play. You know, we're in field goal range. We missed a touchdown on the same drive. So if you at least get a field goal there, we drop a touchdown. Next thing you know, you're on the road, and you miss some of those opportunities, and you let that home team get going. It's tough. So we got to be opportunistic on offense. We've got to make those routine plays. We got to run the football, take care of the ball, and then defensively, we just got to make them keep snapping it. They're explosive. I mean, so that's been it's kept them in some games. It's some of the huge. NC State, they hit a 75-yard touchdown on a corner cat blitz where the guy he just ran right by the safety. And he put it right on the money. And so they've had some huge explosives. And so I think for us, it's not giving up the explosive, and make them have to drive the ball down the field. I think that'll be a key, especially on the road.
Coach Swanny again in preparation for Clemson's matchup against Louisville. And one of the things that Tony Elliott mentioned was their coverages and the way they give you a ton of different looks. Here are Coach Dabo Swanny's thoughts on whether or not he thinks Clemson and DJ Uiagalelei will be prepared for the multiple looks.
It's not really anything they hadn't seen, because they've seen, a lot of variations, but they do a good job. And, so we've got to do a good job of manipulating that. But, they do. They've got every cloud, roll coverage. Middle backer trying to be a middle field close guy. They've got everything you can think of, in their scheme. So I think a lot of that depends on, how the game is going, how we're running the ball, how efficient we are, we behind the chains, those type of things. But they've got a lot of variations.
And finally, on the offensive side of the ball, Dabo Swanny was asked about Justin Ross and his positioning, the way they were moving him around the field, and where we could potentially see him throughout the remainder of the season.
Yeah, we'll keep moving around. We've done that. He's really done that his whole career. If you go back and look, he's shooting one of his biggest plays early in his freshman year was from the slots. We moved him around. We'll continue to do that. We'll put him in the boundary some. He'll be in the slot some. We'll formation him where we need him to be. But, the development of Bo has really come on, getting EJ back. Bo and EJ have played a lot of our 2 and 5 man. And then, Ngata has been pretty consistent for us. Obviously we missed him some, as well, but didn't have him for the Pitt game, but, getting him back was great, and it just gives us some flexibility, with Ross. And I thought Ross had a heck of a game last week. He really, made some plays that we either missed the throw or we just hadn't finished the catch when the throw was there consistently. So it was really good to see that last week. But he's a guy that, you'll continue to see us formation him where we need him to be.
Again, some of Dabo Swanny's thoughts. We'll hit a quick break and come back with more of the show that shakes the Southland. Stay with us. By popular demand, Great Southern Homes now lists their coming soon communities online. Whether you're looking for a new home in your hometown, moving to a new town, or just want your pick of choice lots, this is the place to start. Great Southern Homes invites you to put the wow in your new home with options and upgrades. Live green, live smart in your new green smart home. Show your style and personalize your new home with options and upgrades from Great Southern Homes. Find your dream home today, greatsouthernhomes.com.
The holidays are such a busy time, you can't afford to have an HVAC problem. That's why I recommend my friends at On Call Plumbing, Heating, and Air come and take a quick look at the system. Locally owned and operated, they're all about customer satisfaction, and they'll always send you trained technicians, not trained salespeople. OnCallSC.com or 781-HELP.
On Call Plumbing, Heating, and Air. Pick up the phone and we'll be right there. Call 781-HELP.
Way back when, Colombia was a vast dining desert, a wasteland for fast, fresh, authentic Southwestern food. Weren't nothing bundled up nice and warm in a tortilla. Colombia needed Diablos. Southwestern the way you want it. The real deal, with no shortcuts in quality and served up as fast and fresh as you want it. Diablo Southwest Grill. Sunset Boulevard in Lexington. DiabloSouthwestGrill.com.
It's your chance to win $1,000. Text the nationwide keyword GREEN to 200-200. You'll get a confirmation text and info. Standard data and message rates apply in this nationwide contest. That's GREEN to 200-200.
Hi, this is Dan Patrick, and here's what's trending from the iHeart Sports Network, presented by Mercedes-Benz.
Are the vaunted Chiefs still a Super Bowl contender? I don't think so. They're 4-4. They don't have a win against the winning team, not one. They're buried in the middle of a muddied AFC. They used to be fun to watch, not this year. Mahomes missing throws. Travis Kelce's disappeared. Offensive line below average. No running game to speak of. They're overvalued by fans and media. And oh, by the way, they have the hardest remaining schedule. I'm Colin Cowherd.
Groundbreaking runs in the family. Safety runs in the family. Extraordinary runs in the family. The 2021 Mercedes-Benz range of SUVs. Every member is waiting to impress. You can learn more at mbusa.com.
The free iHeart app has a radio station just for you. No, really, My Favorites Radio is tailored to fit you and only you. The only songs that play are the ones that you thumbed up, along with the biggest songs on the stations you listen to most. My Favorites Radio combines all your favorite music into one amazing station. Download the free iHeart app now and start tapping thumbs up on the songs, artists, and stations you like. Plus, you can even share the station with all your friends, just to prove your superior musical tastes. Favorites Radio, only on iHeart. Discover music, radio, and podcasts you'll love.
They'll challenge your authority. They'll try to break your will. They'll push you to the edge of your sanity. Because that's what kids do. But this car is your territory, not theirs. Defend it. Who makes the payments? Who cleans it? Who drives it? You do. That's who. And in here, your word is law. So when you say you won't move until everyone's buckled up, you won't budge an inch until you hear that click. Never give up until they buckle up. A message from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council. For more information, visit safercar.gov/kidsbuckleup.
Want to hit a home run with your smart speaker? Alexa, play Fox Sports Radio 1400 on iHeartRadio.
That sounds like a pretty good choice to me.
Welcome back to Clemson Sports Talk. Last night, the Clemson Tiger basketball team had their first and only matchup of the preseason, taking on a school, I'll be honest with you, I'd never even heard of. Georgia Southwestern State. That's right. Georgia Southwestern State. The Clemson Tiger men's basketball team knocked off the Hurricanes 77-51 last night in their only exhibition game. They will open the season a week from today against Presbyterian. Clemson, led by P.J. Hall, who scored 23 points on the night, was 11 of 14 from the field for the sophomore. 21 of those points were scored in the first half. Freshman Ian Shiflin was the Tigers' other scorer in double digits, tallying 13 points in the game, hitting on 6 of 7 from the field. Nick Honor led the team with 7 assists, and Hunter Tyson also played well with 7 rebounds in the contest. Again, a 7 o'clock tip-off on the ACC Network next Tuesday for your Clemson Tigers in their season opener on the hardwood. Here's some of what Brad Brownell had to say after Clemson's victory last night.
Pretty good performance. A few too many turnovers for sure, but I like the way we guarded for the most part. Got to play a lot of guys. Certainly PJ was outstanding in the first half, and we made a concerted effort to get him the ball, and some of the things they were doing defensively opened some things up for him. Good performance in terms of getting a lot of guys out there, getting some things done. Ian Shiflin, I think, as a freshman, played very well tonight. Was finished plays around the basket and hit a nice 3. So I thought Nick Honor was very good. Floor game, 7 assists, 1 turnover. They did a lot of gambling defensively. They trapped a lot. Mixed up a couple press coverages. So I thought our guys handled most of that reasonably well. We got a little loose at times, and a couple older players had some turnovers, which is disappointing. But that's really about the only thing I would be critical of our performance. Questions?
Which, how nice was it to be able to rest PJ as much as you did in the second half after a great first half? You're obviously going to need him a lot this season.
Yeah, PJ's a guy that, I think we'll play him a lot, this year, certainly in spurts, though. He can wear down. Obviously, he's had some knee issues, so we, trying to watch that a little bit as well. But, I thought he was terrific. Obviously, very efficient. Our guys did a good job putting him in positions to be successful. He, shot the ball in, laid it in, did the different things that you need to do. And I thought he would, take a step forward this year, and I think he'll continue to do that. And, excited to see him play well in live action.
So there you go, Brad Brownell again, talking about Clemson's matchup with Georgia Southwestern State. There we go. What city? I wonder what city that is in. I gotta look this up real quick. Let's see here. Georgia Southwestern State. It is a 4-year public university in Americus, Georgia, which if you gave me a dart or a hand grenade, I could not hit. Let's see. Where is Americus, Georgia? Location. Man, I got no idea. When I have to look it up, that tells you something about it. When your boy Swanny, and I'm pretty astute with the maps. When I got to dive in and look up Americus, man, I like the name. I'll be honest with you, Americus. Let's see if it's actually in Southwest Georgia. That's a good thing. Is it? It is. Okay, it is in Southwest Georgia. It's right between Atlanta and Tallahassee. I mean, dead on between them. As the crow flies, you would go, if you went south from Atlanta to Tallahassee, you would hit Americus. Now that I think about it, maybe I've been through Americus, and I just didn't take note of Georgia Southwestern State. Well, Brad Brownell mentioned P.J. Hall and his performance in the ball game last night. Again, 23 points on 11 of 14 from the field, 21 points in the first half. Here's Big P.J. talking about his performance last night.
Out of the first half, Nate drove the ball, drove two, threw it in the short corner. I mean, they were giving me wide open shots. So it's guys like that can facilitate. They were ones opening it up. Yeah, our guards did a great job drawing too. Yeah. A lot of guys can feel or find that Libre is inhibiting to their play and just their movement, but doesn't seem to affect you at all. No, yeah, not really. It was a few months ago. I just kind of like sprained a little bit, wasn't too bad, nothing major. I'm just wearing it really for stability. I'm actually expecting to get out of it within the next few days. Yeah, it's not bad. P.J. Hall was also asked about his offense and, where he needs to get better and what he's improved on, et cetera. Honestly, everything. Coming in last year, I expected myself to be at a certain level, and I wasn't. And so this offseason, it was like lost NCAA tournament, came back, and me and Coach Dean, we were straight to it. And me and Justin McKell and our strength coach to put on weight, cut down body fat percentage, got in better shape, worked on the shot, worked on finishing over both shoulders. Honestly, really everything. Just trying to sharpen my game and be more well-rounded. Hall was also asked about where his confidence was heading into this season. It's a lot higher. It's a lot higher, especially whenever you got teammates that get you open shots like I did tonight. Maybe playing on a team like this where everyone works as one, it makes everybody's confidence go up. It really helps everybody on the floor. So there you go, P.J. Hall again talking about his performance last night for your Clemson Tigers. Again, the season gets underway for those guys coming up November the 9th as Clemson will take on Presbyterian a week from today. Several text messages to get to here on the program, some dealing with football. Obviously, we'll try to dial them in and get them in here before the break. Tiger Chuck chimes in the program and says, Swanny, it is really not as difficult as the coaches are making it seem. Just watch the games, people. We have certain formations that work often, but then we go back to running formations that, quote, Clemson runs because that's who we are and that's what we do, and it stalls. I also heard there was a lady on Sweeney's call-in show last night that said something to the effect of, we always run that pitch to the right, and it never works on the first play of the ball game. All right. David E. says, Swanny, not sure if it's mentioned, but Shipley's determination on that final drive Saturday reminded me of ETN on the final drive against Syracuse in 2018. Again, that comes to us from David D. 23. No, good point, man. That's a great connection to
that was a game where Clemson said, hey, with Trevor Lawrence out, we got to put the ball in Travis's hands. And he got the JOBDONE, the job done. Final segment of the show coming up right after this. Stay with us.
Radio advertising can connect your business with holiday shoppers wherever they go. Use iHeart Ad Builder to create an affordable custom radio ad right on your phone. Just click, listen, approve, then hear it on the radio. Create your customized ad today at iHeartAdBuilder.com.
When a community grows, its hospital should grow too. And that's just what we're doing at Lexington Medical Center. We recently launched the largest hospital expansion project in South Carolina history. Our new 10-story patient tower will help us take better care of patients, including the tiniest infants who need special attention. It will also make room for the growing number of patients who need surgery and intensive care. At Lexington Medical Center, our mission to serve our community never wavers. We're here when you need us today, and we'll be there when you need us tomorrow.
Guys, now there's no excuse. Peak Performance for Men has helped thousands of men overcome erectile dysfunction. The question is, what are you waiting for? Live the life you want today with a free consultation. No medication, no pumps, no needles, no pain, no surgery, and absolutely no downtime. Just non-invasive acoustic wave therapy that will have you back to your natural form. That's right. Now for a limited time, a free consultation. There is no risk. Fix it for good with one phone call. Call the Columbia office today at 803-302-8181 or find them at peakperformanceformen.com. Why wait? Enjoy your life to the fullest. Peak can make the difference. Call 803-302-8181 and get your free consultation now. That's 803-302-8181. Peak Performance for Men.
When I grow up, I want to be a new pair of blue jeans.
When I grow up, I want to be a kid's first computer.
When I grow up, I want to be a glass countertop in a new home.
When I grow up, I want to be a kid's best birthday present.
When I grow up, I want to be a football stadium.
When I grow up, I want to be a warm fleece on a cold day.
When I grow up, I want to be a fancy
When I grow up,
I want to be a bike that races around the country.
When I grow up, I want to be a bench on a forest trail. I want to be a rocking chair on a sunny porch. I want to be a skyscraper. I want to be
When I grow up, I don't want to be a piece of garbage. And if you recycle me, I won't be.
Give your garbage another life. Recycle. Learn how at iwanttoberecycled.org. A public service advertisement brought to you by Keep America Beautiful and the Ad Council.
It may be hard to believe, but people just like you are already saving money. FeedThePig.org makes it easy. Their simple savings plan teaches you how to start saving without going overboard. So you don't need to ditch the car and start rollerblading to work.
I look ridiculous.
You look ridiculous!
You don't need to start foraging wild berries.
I was skeptical, but these are actually pretty good.
You don't need to sell your organs on the black market.
Lie back. This is gonna hurt.
Yeah, that hurts. You don't need to rent out your apartment to drifters.
I made a fire with the wood in your bedroom.
That's my dresser!
And your closet door.
You just need an internet connection. Don't get left behind. Start your personal savings plan with the tips and tools on feedthepig.org. That way, you don't need to sell all your belongings and live in a commune.
These dungarees belong to all of us now, Tom.
Brought to you by the American Institute of CPAs and the Ad Council.
Fox Sports Radio 1400. Online at foxsportsradio1400.com. On your phone with the iHeartRadio app. And on hundreds of devices like Alexa, Google Home, Xbox, and Sonos. An iHeartRadio station.
What have you done for me lately? It's a fair question. Just don't lose sight of the bigger picture. Don't forget history. Lucky for us at Clemson, The answer to the questions, what have you done for me lately? And what have you done always, are the same. We win.
Final segment on a Tuesday. Lawton Swan with you again. Thank you for being a part of the show. All right, let's see. I had a couple of more notes to get to here from you guys who texted 803-450-0086, 803-450-0086. And I do want to get to those if we can. Again, the Atlanta Braves coming up tonight, 8:09 first pitch. The Braves look to win their first World Series title since 1995, when your boy Swanny was a mere 18 years old. Oh, holy cow. That's hard to believe. I wasn't even in college yet. I was not even in college yet the last time the Braves won the World Series. Now, I have a wife, 2 kids, and have hosted a radio show talking about your Clemson Tigers for 8 years or 7 years, and a podcast that's talking about your Clemson Tigers for like 17. So, yeah, it's hard to believe, but it has been a long, long time. And hopefully tonight the Braves will get it done so that you don't have to go play a Game 7 on the road in Houston. Again, Game 6 tonight in Houston nonetheless, but it is going to be a very, very difficult time. I think just for the fact that stadium, man, it is weird. I mean, it's got all kind of nooks and crannies, and the next thing you know, you bounce off of one wall, and I mean, triples galore in that ballpark. But hopefully the Braves will play well. Again, almost managing to go undefeated at home during the postseason after going up 4-0 in the first inning on Sunday night, only to have it unravel 9-5. Man, let's see. Text messages. Actually, I think we're good. I did have another one from Tiger Chuck. Let me see, Tiger Chuck, if I can get this one in real quick, because I know you sent this one the other day. He said, Swanny talking about the Braves, and I'll stick with this, I guess. He said, as a college pitching coach, my mindset absolutely would have changed after Adam Duvall's grand slam in the first inning. The Braves should have gone all out to win that game because we saved pitching, banking on a good outing from Fried, who has not looked good in the last 3 starts. He did give up a lot of runs early in his last start and ended up pitching pretty deep in the game. So I think Snitker wanted to ride the momentum that he finished the game with. However, when you're up 4-0 at home, you have to go for the throat and the kill. Woo! I'm glad I got to that one, Tiger Chuck, because that was my thinking. Like, when the Braves go up 4, the first thing I thought about was, dude, there are only 24 outs remaining. I mean, I know that may sound like a lot, but that was my thought. I'm like, man, you're up 4 and there are only 24 outs left. Attack this thing. But then I also wonder, had they not done that, or had they done that and still lost, then, where does that sit you today? And that's the thing. I feel like what Kwok said yesterday, probably is valid to a degree, because if you do go after that dub and you don't get it, then what is that? Where does that put you? And I think that is a legitimate question to ask at this point. 803-450-0086, 803-450-0086. If you want to be a part of the program, we'd certainly love to hear from you and love to have you here on the show. Again, lots to get to over the next couple of days, and hopefully we'll be talking about tomorrow in Atlanta Braves World Series Championship. Nothing would be finer than for us to have that opportunity lined up and ready to go. Again, an 8:09 first pitch. Braves lead the series 3-2. And I do want to ask you this. I kind of joked the other day, and I think everybody did, when the announcers during the World Series brought up the fact that I guess it's what Joe Buck and John Smoltz. They brought up the fact that how many home runs Altuve has hit during his career in the postseason. And my question is this. I mean, the guy is 5'6". So forget all the scandal that surrounded him. I don't follow enough baseball to know, like, who are the great small power hitters of all time. Like, who are the greatest small dudes to ever crank the ball out of the ballpark left and right. And again, I'm not saying that he does it at that respect, but I mean, like Hank Aaron, for example. Let me just give you an idea. Hank Aaron playing back in the 50s, 60s, and 70s was 6 feet tall? I mean, that's substantially bigger than a 5'6" baseball player. Babe Ruth, who would have been playing baseball back in the 20s and 30s. Did he play in the teens? Yeah, he played in the 1914 was his first year. I mean, even Babe Ruth was a big guy when, if you think about the size that people were back during that time, typically people were a lot smaller. And Babe Ruth was pretty, I mean, it almost felt like a giant, right, at 6'2". I mean, Lou Gehrig, who you would deem small, was probably, 6 feet or more. 5'6". 5'6", Altuve. Whether you like him or not, he's got a lot of power in a small frame. We got to get out of here. Until tomorrow, as always, y'all take care now, and go Tigers.
Clemson Sports Talk with Lawton Swan on Columbia's home for sports. Fox Sports Radio 1400. Now, Columbia's most dependable traffic, sponsored by Pope Davis Tire and Automotive, home of the best tire prices in Columbia, guaranteed. Fox Sports Radio 1400 traffic.
Traffic tie-ups include Bush River at Woodland Hills West, also Lake Drive at Knoll Station. The 103.5 FM WVOC traffic tip line number is 343-1055.
This report is sponsored by BioNTech and Pfizer. Festivals, football, the great outdoors. Some people say fall is the best time of the year. It may also be a great time to consider getting vaccinated against COVID-19. Brought to you by BioNTech and Pfizer.
Are you thinking about refinancing your home, but worried that closing costs could cancel out any money you would save? It could happen. In fact, average closing costs for a $300,000 home in South Carolina are over $2,000. Yikes! How's that going to save you money? Cap your costs with a zero closing cost mortgage from Cap Center, your local mortgage lender.
This is our 6th time using Cap Center. And once again, the quality of service and speed of processing was excellent, and the savings are substantial.
This was my 3rd refinance with Cap Center. I've been very satisfied. The entire process is simple, never any surprises, and zero closing costs means zero closing costs.
Cap your closing costs. Visit capcenter.com. Equal housing lender. Visit capcenter.com for rates, savings, and offer limitations. This ad contains real client feedback voiced by actors. NMLS ID 67717. NMLSconsumeraccess.org.
Fall flex savings are happening now at Studemeyer Heating and Air Conditioning. Now through November 19th, save thousands on a new heating and air system for your home through the Studemeyer HVAC Flex rebates. Flex your way to savings with a new Bryant Evolution Extreme High-Efficiency Heat Pump and Air Conditioner. And get a free air purifier, a $2,000 value. Financing options available, including 12 months, same as cash. Don't miss this chance to flex your way to savings this fall. Go to StudemeierHeating.com to learn how. That's StudemeierHeating.com.
Hi, it's Gary David. Are you ready to take a shot at finding a new career? FN America, a growing world-class design and manufacturer of the world's most innovative and quality firearms, is looking for you. At FN, you'll be part of a passionate team that takes pride in knowing they're doing their part to save lives and protect our freedom. FN offers outstanding benefits, including an on-site health and wellness center, excellent health plans, profit sharing, and 401k plan for all employees. So start carrying your future today and explore career opportunities at fnamerica.com/careers.
No word in the English language